Hey there, welcome to Factually. I'm Adam Conover. Thanks so much for being with me on the show again. Look, I'm a comedian. One of the reasons I'm a comedian is because I grew up loving to laugh, as did so many of you. Gathering with a large group of people and laughing together is one of the most elemental human social experiences that we have. It's something that we constantly crave. It's something that we as a species love to do. And there are ways that we do it together. One of them is to go see a live comedy show. And by the way, I hope you come see me on the road coming up soon. I'll be in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Brea, California, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York City, Tacoma, Washington, Spokane, Washington. I'm doing a big show in Los Angeles at the Lodge Room. I'll be at the Bell House in New York later in the year. Head to adamconover.net for all those tickets. But if you can't go see a comedy show on the road, well, one good way that you've been able to go gather with a large group of people in the dark, lose your consciousness, your individualized self, join a crowd mentality and laugh in unison, releasing some of your stress and fear and despair. One of the most accessible ways to have that fundamental human experience has been to go to the movies. For a century, Americans and other people around the globe have been going to a movie theater, sitting in the dark and laughing at some of the funniest people in the world on the big screen. Until recently, because for the past 20 years, for some reason, Hollywood has stopped making comedies by and large. They're still making superhero movies, they're still making horror movies, but for some reason, comedies have almost disappeared from the movie theater. Why is that? Well, today on the show, we're going to try to answer that question because I have as my guests the two writers of one of the counterexamples to this trend. I'm talking, of course, about the recent Naked Gun movie, which was an absolute revelation. I went and I sat in the theater with some very good friends of mine, and we laughed for 90 minutes straight with hundreds of other people. From the first moment to the last moment, we were guffawing, chortling, and releasing all that pent-up energy that we wanted to get out of ourselves. It was an absolutely incredible experience. And today on the show, I have Gregor and Doug Mand here to tell us how they did it and what about the movie industry has changed that has made this wonderful experience all too rare. I've known Dan and Doug for almost 20 years. We got our start together as sketch comedy writers in New York City, just writing shows to make people laugh in basements. And one of my favorite things about this movie was how they brought that spirit to the big screen in as pure of a form as I've ever seen. I know you're going to love this conversation. Before we get to it, just want to remind you that if you want to support the show and all the conversations we bring you every single week, head to patreon.com/Adam Conover. $5 a month gets you every episode of this show ad-free. We have a wonderful online community we'd love you to join. See you there. And if you'd like to come get some comedy community with other people in the real world, laugh in a dark room in your home city, head to adamconover.net one more time for all my tickets and tour dates. I'd love to see you out there. It's one of my favorite things to do. And now, let's get to this conversation with Gregor and Doug Mand.
I usually get an anxiety, like I gotta poop, but then usually like it's right before a show starts, and then I'm like, I did the show and I didn't poop.
Yeah, poop is a phantom,
but pee is real. You can feel it there.
I pee like 4 times in every movie. I did pee once during your. Well, we should be rolling for that.
Sure.
We're rolling now.
Great.
Okay, I did pee during your movie. Does that
tell
make
us where
you
you
mad?
felt comfortable peeing.
The movie is like 14 minutes. Where'd you find it?
Short run time.
Yeah.
I think it was in. There's like a dark blue club environment.
Yeah.
And
okay,
it was during some of that.
Great. The sleepier section.
You know what? I think that was probably.
That's right.
So my move is I get to the theater. On the way to the theater, I go to the bathroom and I pee.
Yeah.
Then we go sit down in the seats.
Yeah.
Where during the commercial portion, I get up and I pee again then.
Right.
Yeah.
And then usually about halfway through the trailers is my third pre-movie pee.
Whoa. Okay. You really.
So there's an anxiousness too.
There's
because that third one, there's not. There could be.
Are you chugging a giant soda?
No, I'm
you're
like
not.
generally I drink a normal amount
that's
of
my
water.
problem at a movie is that like I get a slushie. I get the big old slushie, and then halfway into the movie, I'm like, I can't hold all this liquid.
Peeing is not the only problem.
Yeah,
You're getting a big slushie at this age.
Oh, where else are you getting a big slushie? It's not bad.
You're not. I think at a certain age, you just go, I'm done with that part of my life.
I can see any movie with a slushie.
What's with the environment of having to pee though? Because like when I'm at home, I'm like working on, I'm doing emails or whatever, and I'll realize I've been holding my pee for like 45 minutes in discomfort and not really caring about it. And then when I'm sitting in a movie theater, as soon as I get the merest tickle of it's going to be really uncomfortable in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It fills my mind.
It's the separation. It's where you're not allowed to go.
That's what it is.
It's the anxiety about not having access to it.
This is my whole life with pooping.
Yeah,
this is my whole life.
So you have this for pooping.
Yeah, and I had a show about it for many years.
Adam, didn't do your research, Adam?
Yes.
I wing it.
Check the dossier, my friend.
I have a clipboard. I never use
but
it.
it was like if I was ever in a place as a child where I knew I couldn't poop, I had to immediately. And the poop was very real. It was not phantom.
Yeah.
Famously, Doug did poop on the commissioner of Major League Baseball's private plane.
Yeah, I did. I was a guest of my friend on Bud Selig's plane.
Wow.
And I was 13. And I was just, my friend and I were going to visit like his grandparents and his grandparents' friends. I had no idea where I was going. Long story short, I ended up on, had never been on a private plane or whatever. But it wasn't luxurious. It was just like a small tube and I had to shit. And
you're like 6 inches away from Bud Selig.
That I am this far. And they didn't have a proper bathroom. They had a jump seat that was also a toilet.
Oh my God.
And like a shower curtain?
And a shower curtain. So if I wanted to do this to his feet, if I wanted to touch Bud Selig's foot, and I shit in this basically like flying, Campbell soup.
You're like a Cessna.
Right. Basically the size of this room.
Everyone hated me on the flight. And no one was gracious at all about it. I was a little kid. Felt awful, and his grandparents stocked me up with Imodium on the way back. They were so disgusted by me.
The first and only time I was ever on a tour bus, we did an Adam Ruins Everything tour that was like sponsored by the network, so they like rented a tour bus with like my face on the side. My only time touring that way because it was a moving ad, but it was just me and Gonzalo Cordova. Who just had a show come out on Adult Swim called Women Wearing Shoulder Pads. If people want to check it out, it's really great. Anyway, he was opening for me, and then like a roadie tech guy and a tour manager. And the first day, the tour manager goes, "Hey guys, so like ground rules of the bus, like just don't poop on the bus. Like if you've never been on a tour bus before, like
how dare you say that?
You say that, and as soon as you start, you're like, well, I gotta go now."
Yeah.
Well, I was like, I don't have poop issues. Usually, unless I've eaten a lot of cauliflower or something. So you pee on the bus and you poop at the rest stops, right? And the second day, I was like, that's fine. The second day, he wakes us up and he's like, who pooped on the bus? Who?
The mystery?
One of you pooped on the bus.
One of you filthy pigs.
I was like, it wasn't me. We're all literally me and Gonzalo and the road guy.
So it's only three suspects.
Only three suspects.
So who are you throwing under the bus right now?
It was definitely, I think the guy's name was Waldo.
Waldo, are you hearing this, Waldo?
We were looking for Waldo.
Yeah. We found him.
We found him. He had the brown stripe.
More Waldo than we wanted.
I had a lot of problems with that guy, so I'm going to throw him under the bus. We had some other conflicts on that.
But then what do you do when you find someone? Like, okay, it was him. Now what?
Yeah, I pooped. You're right.
You want him to go
I'm a
sit like wear a hat and like fucking
the Waldo hat?
Shame him? It's I don't know. I'm looking at the guy who's pointing fingers. Something tells me it's him.
Yeah.
No.
Who did it?
That's how he deflected.
Who did it?
Yeah, or it's the driver when nobody noticed. He just sneaks away and does it. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thank you for having us. Thanks for
really
keep talking poop for the next hour.
Oh wait, I actually want to talk about something else about poop.
Please.
This is like a source of fascination for me. Have you heard about the Japanese phenomenon of needing to poop when you go into a bookstore?
No.
So
that's
I
Japanese.
I don't read.
I guess
so
I have some Japanese.
You do. It's called the Mariko Aoki phenomenon. So my whole life, every time I would go into a bookstore, I would feel a sudden need to poop, like really, like cramping, like oof, really bad. And it would be, as you said, it's real. I would go to the and I would literally have to poop, and it would happen in every bookstore, often in record stores, but usually like bookstores. And I look it up once. I was working at College Humor at the time. I look it up. And I found a whole Wikipedia page called the Mariko Aoki phenomenon. And in Japan, a woman like named Mariko Aoki wrote into like a magazine in like the 80s. She was like, I have to poop every time I go to a bookstore. And it became an object of cultural fascination in Japan of people saying, why could this be? What are the theories? It seems to be a real phenomenon, but nobody knows
you're
why.
You're blowing my mind because like maybe 2 weeks ago, I went to the last bookstore downtown for the very first time. And I had the worst shit attack I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
I ran to the men's room.
It's the pages.
It's locked. And I'm at the point where I'm like, this isn't going to happen. And I run into the women's room and I shit in the women's room. And then I wait for the women's room to clear out so that I can like leave.
Oh, it wasn't a single.
No, it was like It was a full woman's room.
When you went in, was it full?
I ran it such a blur that I'm hoping that the one woman at the sink didn't register my gender.
So you saw someone there.
So there's one woman at the sink when I blur in.
You could have missed Doubtfire.
Yeah, exactly. I go, oh, my feminine duty. This is me blooming. I'm in a big lady duty. And
I gotta make dinner for the kids.
yeah. And then I just stealthily just like sat there stubbornly until I knew that there was no one else in the entire restroom, so I could leave again.
My God.
And I didn't wash my hands in there. I ran out into the men's room so I could just wash and take care of my cleanliness in the men's room.
Just to like restabilize. Men's room, in the men's room.
All right, I take my time in here. Yeah, that was, and it was bad. And then maybe you just discovered what happened.
I mean, I've had similar I've not had that exact experience, but this is like a lot of people report this about bookstores specifically, and there's theories about like, is it the smell of the paper?
I was going to say, I said it was
paper
I'm
adjacent.
just trying to think about what it could be. Although, like
old books,
not
too.
famously because I haven't talked about it, but a Borders or a Barnes and Noble bathroom is usually just always wrecked. It's just a bathroom.
Oh yeah.
It goes Starbucks and then it's right under it.
Remember that Union Square?
The Union
Square. That might as well have been the subway tracks.
Or no, you're talking about Astor Place. The one at Astor,
both of them. I used to poop in the Union Square one all the time.
I feel like the per capita most shit's happening in there.
You have to go up like 3 flights of escalators to get to the bathroom too. So you're just like, look at this
times I'm running up
majestic view of the city,
the Astor Place train station, tripping up the stairs and then getting into that restroom. And there was never fewer than 4 people waiting in that line.
That's it.
And you could see it from the glass inside. It was all glass opening. So you could
see. It's like an attraction. That's how they get people into the Barnes and Noble.
Come on in. Take a shit.
Waiting in the shit line.
Yeah.
Well, you're waiting in line. You might as well buy a book.
I almost joined David Barton Gyms just so I could shit there.
Anyway, well, let's talk about the movie for 1 second.
Please.
Before we
force you back here.
Oh, I mean, we're talking about my favorite subject,
right,
but thank you guys for saving comedy.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Is that official?
I mean, this is what everyone's saying. Like literally everyone I talk to in comedy is like, "Oh, did you see this movie? It's so good for comedy. It's so good for because
happy to help."
I mean, the experience of I went on opening week, the experience of sitting and getting to laugh with people consistently, and people laughing at the first joke to the last is like this revelatory experience of like what. Why do we stop doing this?
It's really amazing. I mean, we got the joy of doing test screenings all the way through, and that first public one was like, it was truly like I felt my heart fly out of my body.
Oh.
It was amazing. It was like so cool.
It was really cool.
Because, I mean, this is what we do, which is like we all come from like some level of like live comedy where like you hone your skill set on actual laughter.
Yeah.
The laughter is the feedback you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so to get to make something where that is basically it. That's the metric. Is like, is there a laugh there? No? Yes? Good? Bad? Like it's that simple. It was awesome. It was so cool.
But why do you think that Hollywood has stopped trying to create that experience, right? Because one of the getting together and laughing with a group of people is like a foundational human experience. Stand-up comedy is based around it and based around the fact that people just want to do it all the time. Like there's always a market for it. The market never goes away. And that is the special thing that theatrical and entertainment provides. And yet, when I went to see the movie, I was like, I can't remember another movie that was actually trying to make me laugh this much. Even movies that are billed as comedies.
Yeah.
Like the last 15 years, we've had a lot of like action comedies.
That's really kind of replaced it.
Couple of great gags, but also real chase scenes. You know?
I mean, we talk about this a lot, and it's certainly like in the line of work of what we do, which is Marvel basically ate up comedy between like Taika Waititi and Favreau, who are brilliant directors and writers.
Yeah.
But they sort of subsumed a lot of that sensibility into like the sideshow for all of these big superhero movies.
Right, like, the Thor movie, the new Thor movie was kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have your 5th or 6th lead, and they are suddenly the only real comedy in those movies. But like, they're kind of the best parts of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
They're the thing that you actually make them stand out in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, look, I mean, you asked the question, but I think the answer is always comes down to the economics of it, right? Like the movie studios are not in the business of, what's really good for society? Just a bunch of people getting around and laughing. Like that's not really, they're not in that business. They're in the business of just And through a lot of fault of their own, I don't think the numbers made sense anymore. And I don't pretend to understand exactly how streaming works in a way that like props up companies, and in a larger scheme, there's just so much behind the curtains I will never understand. They don't want us to understand. But, if you look at, we're filming this now, the movie's still in the theaters. It remains to be seen if this movie is like a financial like hit or a boon for the, it seems.
You think so?
It's doing well.
It's doing well, but it's not a runaway hit right now.
The difference between well and like we got to make 16 more of these is
the difference between before. Did they turn a profit from it yet? So you have your budget, and then the general rule of thumb is 2.5 times the budget, for P&A and everything for the studio to start making money. And we never really find out about those things because we know what the box office is, but we don't almost ever know what the video on demand numbers are. And then we definitely don't know, this is a Paramount movie. It's gonna go on Paramount Plus. So what's that license?
Right.
What's that licensing deal?
And then how much have they spent on marketing? The marketing for the movie was awesome.
They really, and they really got behind it.
We felt that we hit a later round in testing, and the scores were really good. And suddenly they were like, oh, okay, I guess now it's time to spend real money on this. And so we felt the faucets turn on a little bit in terms of marketing.
And we got lucky on that. That's great. I mean, there are a lot of.
It made a huge difference. I mean,
people knew about it.
At least in LA, people were like, "Are you going to see it this weekend?" Yes, going to go see it. Like every parking garage. That
was amazing.
No, they really did a great job, and they made it an event.
But that costs money, and you don't know how much that costs either.
No, not really.
The general rule of thumb is for that is the cost of the production budget. That's what they usually say. So double it, and then they say 2.5 to get to
profitable.
But profitable because the studio only makes around 50 to 55% of the ticket sales, and then whatever.
But like,
a big part of the history of it is that there was a meaningful period where a major percentage of studio box office was coming from China. And so we were making movies constantly that had to be sold overseas to China. Comedy was famously incapable of penetrating China, as of course it would be. It's not. They're very culturally specific.
Yeah, the amount of international comedy is like Jackie Chan, Mr. Bean.
Yeah,
that's
it's really, really thin. I mean, we
and Adam Sandler happens to do well overseas, which is part of his big deal. Is that
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. Is that like Adam Sandler kind of transcends it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny sound.
I'm going to see the water.
Yeah.
Look, I love him. He's my favorite.
Yeah,
but that started to dry up.
That translates.
That started to dry up, and so, but in the interim, all of the just sort of domestic comedies stopped being profitable to the major studios. Yeah. So they just went to Netflix, basically. Netflix has a very different set of expectations about what they want out of anything they make. They don't need it to. It's never going to be in a theater for them. So that's the bottom line. They have no interest in that.
Well, and comedy, when you're watching at home, like a thing that we know as comedians, but I don't know if audiences often think about, is you just laugh so much less when you're at home, and so you don't expect to laugh.
Yeah, laughter is infectious. That's a very good point also, where it's like, oh, that's sort of why dramedy gets to be included so easily in the comedy category. Because it's like, I smiled a couple times, and that's what comedy is now.
Yeah.
When the bear made that sandwich. Is that what the bear's about?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was so embarrassing for, first of all, the first year that the cast of that show was up there holding Emmys and being asked, do you think you're a comedy?
Yeah.
They should have pulled it. That's humiliating for that cast.
It's insulting to everyone because they're making
also, they didn't ask. They were like, well, you guys nominated us. We're here.
Yeah, the poor cast being asked to field that question.
We made a great show. Like, just because it happens to be a half hour doesn't mean that whatever.
But like that was fed this idea that like comedy is dying because like look at what's winning the comedy awards is a drama.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that the explosion of streaming sort of really brought down the expectations of just being funny because your point is well made. Like you don't have to laugh as much, and you will not laugh as much at home.
And I think the prices, like but the fact is, the average American, like I don't want to speak on behalf like I have some greater knowledge of this, but all the streaming services cost a lot of money, and you pay for them, and right at your fingertips there are all these movies. The idea of taking your family out to go see a movie, like this can be $100, like a couple, like it goes once if you get popcorn and like a soda,
parking,
and if you don't do that, and if you have kids, you're getting a babysitter. Like it suddenly becomes this thing of like we have this at home, And if it's not this big event movie, the idea of seeing like a low or mid-budget comedy, I feel like the bar just becomes so high for like, well, what's going to get us out of our seats, like out of home, the things that we already pay for, to actually spend money, spend time, when I'm just going to be able to see this in 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
But to me, the differentiator should be laughing in a large group of people.
I agree.
I don't
It's
get
a
to have
unique
that.
experience.
And I think that the numbers kind of play out that in that way a little bit. Like the numbers are not bad. Our numbers are really solid.
Also, I mean, look, another big part of it, and just it does keep coming back to money because, so all right, so we take off what the ability to make money on these movies overseas. So suddenly the money to make the movies has to be less because the odds of turning a profit are smaller.
Do you know why it's less overseas? Why they can't sell as much overseas? Is it like
I mean, it's
foreign
cultural,
policy
cultural.
shit?
comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, no,
Although
China's a whole other thing. I mean, truly, when we developed a movie for off of a Chinese cartoon once, and it was like the biggest thing in China, and we were like, cool, we're gonna like get to make this movie. They were in pre-production, and then there was some change in the regime, and the owner of the financier went to prison, and
Okay.
and you're like, oh, okay. So, like, and so that's what you get when you have
Suddenly
to
we're
produce with,
embroiled in a pretty
right, exactly. You're just like, I guess that movie won't happen anymore. And like,
Right.
and China has very drastically shifted its own internal tastes about screening American movies. So that has meaningfully gone off the table. They don't let in the movies that they used to.
Got it.
And so that was a huge portion of international box office. So again, and then combine that with the extreme rising costs of production. Los Angeles being the case in point. I mean, the Los Angeles production costs are insane. And so especially when you start talking about like comedies and naturalistic comedies where it's like, let's just throw up a camera and shoot around Los Angeles. You can't. You really can't for a lot of people. The costs are prohibitive. And so suddenly you're in this place where everyone has to take home run swings. You have to spend a lot of money to try to make $1 billion. And if you are taking these stabs at like a single, a double, like we spent $20 million and maybe we made $40 million, and that's an amazing success. Those things don't make a lot of sense for these studios anymore, unfortunately. I hope that changes, and I hope that the California tax production credit that just passed actually does make a big.
It's a good start.
It's a good
It's
start.
definitely a start. I would say that also I started this by shitting on the studios not caring about the theater experience. I will say that everyone I know, like every executive I know in this business that I've met with, really wanted Naked Gun to work. Like, so I think I'm talking about the upper, like the shareholders at the top who are like, don't really care.
Yeah,
But
those aren't even people. That's just like the machine logic of the economic
machine of
system.
capitalism or whatever. But within these, like the hallways of Paramount or 20th, like people were really excited about it. Like people all over, everyone was rooting for it. It felt great. And you talk to a lot of people who weren't writers, just like that we don't usually get to talk to, like outside of our general meetings with them, where they're just like, oh, this was so great. This is why I got into movies, to like make something like this. This is what I saw with my father and my mother growing up. Like, so the love is still there. Like hitting a single or a double of like, we made a movie for 35 million. It ended up making 55. Like a lot of people at Universal, at Paramount, like they do want to do that.
Yeah.
I just think it's really hard to get those movies greenlit.
Yeah.
And push them through. That's why Naked Gun is like, we kind of had to Trojan horse it a little bit too, because it's Naked Gun. It still is a franchise. It's not like we got some of that, and then we had to have Liam Neeson, this big star, and all these things had to like happen.
You ever feel like your brain has reached capacity? It's like all of your to-dos and dinner plans and important dates and errands have lined up down the block and are waiting for the bouncer to let them into club brain before you can get any of that done. Well, let me be the fire marshal to your overcrowded mind and offer up some relief. It's called Skylight Calendar. Skylight Calendar syncs your entire family's schedule onto a sleek digital display so that you can focus on more important things like remembering where you left your coffee. This all-in-one smart calendar syncs seamlessly with Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, Outlook, and more, giving you customizable views for daily, weekly, or monthly planning. You'll be able to manage events, chores, and grocery lists while assigning colors for each of your family members and eliminating excuses of them not knowing what they needed to do. Sorry, kids. With the free Skylight Companion app, you can add or update events, lists, and more on the go. Your happiness is Skylight's happiness. So if in 120 days you're not 100% thrilled with your purchase, you can return it for a full refund, no questions asked. And right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to myskylight.com/factually. Go to myskylight.com/factually for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That is myskylight.com/factually. Folks, this episode's brought to you by Alma. You know, how often do you feel heard in your life? Like, really genuinely heard? For a lot of us, the answer to that question is not enough. It can be really isolating to go unheard in your life or feel like you're lacking a sense of connection to people around you. And this only feels worse if you're struggling with your mental health. And that's why I want to tell you about Alma. Alma makes it simple to find a licensed therapist who gets you, someone who can offer support tailored to your specific needs and goals and make sure that you're actually being heard. In fact, 83% of people who see a therapist through Alma say their provider is the right fit. And Alma therapists bring real experience to the table, on average 6 years of it, with 20% practicing for over a decade. Their easy-to-use directory lets you filter by things like gender, specialty, ethnicity, and more, so you can find someone you truly connect with. You can even schedule free 15-minute consultations to make sure it feels right before you commit to a session. Better with people, better with Alma. Visit helloalma.com/factually to get started and schedule a free consultation today. That's helloalma.com/factually. I have to ask this before I ask anything else. So when I was thinking about the movie, I was like, hold on a second. Leslie Nielsen, star of the original, Liam Neeson, Leslie Nielsen.
It's the only reason we got
Liam
it.
Neeson.
It's a Naked Gun joke into itself.
It's
like,
insane.
What's the next name down the list of celebrities? Okay, we'll go there. Yeah.
It's like a fucked up anagram.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's perfect.
Complete coincidence?
Yeah, complete coincidence.
Why?
Because,
How
yes,
did it
I
else?
mean, 100%. I mean, coincidence other than that's just how I would fuck up the names constantly early in development where I was.
And then people would,
Yeah.
I sometimes would be like, who's in it? I'd be like, Liam Neeson. And they'd be like, I thought he was dead. And I'd be like, no, that's Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you guys from going way back to doing just comedy at UCB. One of the things I loved about the movie was how it felt like our kind of comedy, my kind of, just like, it's like a sketch comedy movie.
It fully
There's a lot of that sensibility that I love. And I'm not saying that's the best kind of comedy, but it hit this sort of
that DNA for sure.
Yeah, this sort of pure comedy writing kind of gags and jokes.
We were both sketch teachers at UCB. I mean, it was a real joy to get to come in and like really employ those skills. I mean, like to that exact point, for a while in the script, there actually was our old group was a group called Hammercats.
Yeah.
Which is maybe you remember.
Yes.
And it was, and there was a Hammercats sketch that I wrote when I was 19 or 20 that like was too involved to ever produce ourselves. And suddenly as we were writing this, I was like, oh shit, like that sketch will fit in this movie. And like and I put it into a sequence and it was in there for a while. And then eventually Liam Neeson was like, this is too weird. I don't like this. And we cut it. But
it must have been really weird.
He really
what else is in the movie.
really called it out.
Really hated it.
And he was like, he was like, and this is not the one. And
I know.
And Dan,
what is it?
I'll tell you, it was it's certainly not going to be in the movie.
I don't think it's going to be in any movie.
I'm hoping it makes the DVD.
It's a very funny, very particular idea.
It was that sequence, the car chase sequence where he's driving and then he's like, oh no, he's gonna hit the balloons with the clown, then he's gonna hit the bees, and then the windshield comes on suddenly, right?
Oh,
and so so the second beat of that was not for a long time was not the bees. It was the trope in these car chase scenes where you sort of car chase is happening and you see you're about to hit like a woman with a baby carriage and you're like, oh God, get out of the way. And then you hit the baby carriage and thank God the baby carriage was filled with cans. And you're like, oh, thank God. Right. And that's the trope. And so the sketch, which then went into the sequence, was you're like, get out of the way. You hit the baby carriage full of cans go everywhere, and you think for a sec, oh, thank God it was cans. But then the mom starts crying, and she's like, oh, my baby. And then a man made of cans walks over, and he goes, oh, our baby,
Did you film this?
No, we didn't. No, that's my point.
It didn't. I don't think it made it past the first draft.
I mean, it was in there for a while, but
we all liked it.
Yeah,
that's so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
very
so
funny.
that was the second beat of that run for a while, and then, but truly, it was, and that's a Hammercat sketch from 2005.
Yeah.
And so
Gregor's still looking for a way to get the
I
budget for
have
that.
these notebooks that I can't just throw away.
I mean, that's
a great
to
joke.
me, that's such a classic sketch comedy joke, and so much of the core of sketch comedy is how do I take it further than the audience expects? Set up expectation, demolish expectation.
Yes.
The movie does that so many times. The chili dog sequence to me was so incredible.
Again,
everyone talks about the snowman sequence. I'm like, it's all about the chili dog sequence.
Thank you,
for me.
thank
Yeah.
you.
What's great is that there's a lot of dumb children to love in this movie. People are like, "What's your favorite bit?" It's like they're all just my idiot children I love. It's really one of the joys of this is different people saying they like different things. It's really
the
great.
perp saying like, "Don't you do it? Don't do it."
Yeah.
I was like, "This is," because I thought I knew where it was going. I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, we got our nice little shit joke.
Yeah.
Okay."
Like, no, we got a lot more.
Yeah,
that was. I mean, same.
Yeah.
That was also. We had a lot of bits that. In ultimately the larger goal that we started getting to is like this movie really lives in momentum and that like we really desperately wanted to be under 90 minutes, wanted to kind of be at 85 minutes, and so there's a certain amount of Akiva, the director, Akiva Schaffer, really
Who we wrote with as well.
intelligently was like just started getting aggressive where it's just like we're cutting. I know this is good, but we're cutting. Speed is our friend more than any individual joke, and so. There's a lot of bits in the movie that were written and filmed to be 2 or 3 beats longer. That like the jokes are delightful to me. They're great. I mean,
Man, if there were, I wish there were DVDs.
I know,
because maybe we could.
Doug and I would regularly do the writer's edit where it's just like, but I want every joke we filmed in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they got. There's got to be a cut of in the making, but
I hope so. But we'll see.
I was going to ask you something else, but since you mentioned the runtime, like, was it hard to keep the runtime short? And why are runtimes long? This is something I do not understand about the movie industry, where like I think every movie is too long.
Yeah.
You would think if you're trying to do turnover, like a movie theater is like a restaurant, you want to get people in and out and sell more tickets. You want the movies to be shorter. I understand it takes work to edit something,
Sure,
but like. A longer movie must cost more on some level.
At the very least, it costs more to finish. It costs more on VFX. But I
so
mean,
what's the pressure that makes movies long?
I mean, I can't speak to it really, other than I do think that there's just been sort of economics creep where it's like it has the sheen of meaningful to be over a certain number.
I think that's
And so
I
you're
think
like
that's
you're
right.
getting. I actually think it's the opposite, where people feel like, "Ooh, I'm getting my money's worth at over a certain number."
I think that's part of it. It's like if I'm going to pay for it, I want to see a big longie. And then
but
also
I agree that I do think that's stupid. But then also, I mean, you were talking about going to but if you go to AMC, you're not seeing the movie for
30 minutes.
30 minutes before the actual showtime or after the showtime is starting.
It's a 4-hour affair if you're seeing a Marvel movie.
So like it's they're. I don't know. I just think they're trying to milk as much value out of it as they can.
But it's not value for
I agree. I
No,
mean,
it's definitely not. It doesn't mean you're not getting more. You're just there longer.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways you're getting less. Like, I don't know. I also, again, I don't see a lot of the superhero movies. They don't really appeal to me as much. I try to like see them just to know what's going on. But there's
we'll
also
write on them,
there's
please.
also I would love to. I would kill. Oh my God. But there's a certain self-seriousness about them where it's just like, and I feel like that trickles down to like, well, we can't cut that. That's
it's like
need that.
Nolan got 245 for Batman. So why am I not getting? Why am I not getting this? Peacemaker.
We joke, but I do think that there is like there's a real trickle down to like an auteur kind of like, no, this we can't cut.
But it's so funny that even in the most ruthlessly capitalist part of a capitalist business, ego would be the thing. Like that's what
it is.
I mean, that's the beauty of Hollywood.
It is strange.
Hollywood is one of the last bastions of deep inefficiencies that like ego
from ego.
Ego still rules the day in so many ways that is probably not necessarily the case in a lot of other places.
Well, because someone has power, and then ego plus power
exactly
gives you the ability to lose everybody money.
Yeah,
it was such a relief. Like my whole group going to the theater was like, oh, it's like 90 minutes. Like. Oh, we're so excited that
we have a night. We still have a night.
I know.
I mean,
I only peed once instead of twice during the runtime.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I mean, you did three
Over-
times before. It
Three
started.
times before, but if
Yeah.
it, over 2 hours, I'm peeing twice.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, that's you look at that
That's
number.
a double peer.
I won't put on a bunch of movies just from that
Yeah.
runtime alone.
By the way, I have like talked to doctors and like looked at threads about like I pee a lot and what to do, and they just say practice holding it, and that just sucks.
I mean,
I don't want to do that.
I mean, I won't throw my wife under the bus any more than I already have by even saying her name in the context of this conversation. So anyway,
You can stop
let's
right
move
now
on.
and
Let's
you'd be
stop.
fucked.
Why am I still talking about it? My wife has nothing to do with this conversation. Adam, leave me alone.
Tell us what your wife, famous actress and show creator Rachel Bloom, tell us about her pee
God
problems.
damn it, Adam. It's fine.
Oh, wait
No,
till you hear
this is
about
going to
it.
be the clip. We're going to clip this out
Wait
for
till you hear
Instagram.
about Rachel Bloom's pissing.
Yeah, I've got to hear about it now.
Stay
Give us the
tuned.
tea. Give us the pee.
I made a huge mistake here. I've driven down a blind alley, and I really got to leave. We got to move on.
We can move on. We can move on.
I'll talk about
I got
drinking.
what I wanted out
I'll
of
talk about
this.
drinking. I've been told to drink 2 of these a day, right?
2 of those big ass
and then to move
flasks.
on.
yeah.
And I started doing this last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was working with the trainer, and she was like, it will get better. They say it'll take 6 months for you to, she says
Jesus.
like to start like for
Dead
your
in
body
6 months.
to get used to this much. And I will say it kind of has. Like
Okay.
I'm not peeing as much. Like when I started doing this, the first 3 or 4 months, I was pissing like every.
Wait, was this a strategy to try to pee less? Was to drink more water?
No,
and then
just to be
pee-
healthier.
Oh, just
healthier.
to be.
No.
Just
No,
to
she was like, I
hydrate.
want you to be healthier. And then I was like,
Yeah.
I can't because I can't go to sleep and I can't sit through meetings now. And she's like, just be patient. It will get better. Because drinking water is terrible. No, drinking water is good for you. What are we talking about here, people?
Drinking water is good for
Yeah.
you, but peeing.
Peeing is the worst. Peeing all, and also when you're drinking that much in the beginning, it especially feels like every time you have to pee, it's an emergency. And it feels like as soon as you flush, you walk out of the room, you're like, and then it just feels like it's dripping back, like loading back up inside of you.
I have such anxiety about how much I pee, and I love that this is about 40% of the interview content now. But I have such anxiety about, and that people are going to be like, "Oh, look at him going to the bathroom all the time," and you know that
should get
people
checked
are going
out.
to notice this about me and think that I'm
Look at him
weird,
thinking
or
about pee-pee.
pathetic.
This is what
yeah.
the Cialis commercials are all about too. Like it was people stopping their canoe trip to like go pee and like this is.
and I'm in my early 40s. I'm not
I
like.
thought Cialis was a boner pill.
Oh right. What's the?
You're thinking of like the SNL parody ad about
No,
like
there's
the,
Flomax.
it's
Flomax.
it's prostate stuff.
Yeah, they're
Oh, okay,
Flomax.
okay.
Flomax is like
You're like, I like getting huge erections and then
Yeah.
pissing upwards.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I like peeing into my own mouth.
yeah.
Well, let me. So you guys, like I said, I detect so much of the UCB sensibility in the
Yeah.
movie of the and the sketch comedy, even our comedy careers predate our time there. And then I know that in the interviewing time, you guys have written on so many different types of movies, big studio stuff. So like, how do you end up now writing this like pure comedy? Just give me a little bit of the path of the career, and then how you get to writing like this true comedy.
I would say that like the beginning of our career basically started with us, in New York at UCB, having graduated and having to come to like the conclusion like, well, sketch comedy is not going to pay the bills. Like we had to actually be like, we're not going to make money from this. We need to like move to narrative, like to writing sitcoms, writing features that are not, there's only going to be, the 2 maybe sketch shows on the air at a time, and probably won't be us. So we actively went away from that, which is why it's kind of so beautiful that this has happened. But that was the progression, is like we need to write, we need to take our sensibility and kind of push and see how that reveals itself in 30-minute sitcoms and stuff like that. So that's kind of
that eventually got us onto some successful sitcoms, which were on How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother changed kind of it's also how we learned really how to write.
Mm-hmm.
But then, we got to go to Crazy X from there, and Crazy X in its own really wonderful way was very much a narrative show, but there were these little islands of functionally musical sketch comedy in the middle of the episodes. And so those got to be kind of sketchy. And then Doug and I also wrote on a show called The Comedians with Billy Crystal and Josh Gad, but it was a show about Billy Crystal and Josh Gad having a sketch show, and the interstitials of that show were sketches. So again, we got to like bring back. I probably pitched the Can Man sketch. On that show too.
I almost definitely have. I don't remember it, but maybe that's.
I also have sketches that I've been like in the back of my head for.
I feel like we
years.
keep coming back to. No one's coming back.
Can Man. Someone say Can Man?
It's so satisfying.
I know.
You'll get it one day.
I'll get it one day.
And it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm gonna just make the Can Man movie. Make it a horror movie.
It would be a perfect. You just got to do one episode of Family Guy. It'd be a perfect Family Guy moment.
Exactly.
Really
That's why won't they hire me? And so, yeah, I mean, it's funny. There was like a brief moment where like you were launching Adam Ruins Everything, and I think I helped you out on the pilot. I came in to do a room.
You did,
with you on the pilot, and it was very simultaneous to like the first feature that Doug and I had sort of gotten on at Paramount actually, and I remember like you were like, yeah, you want to be on the staff, and simultaneously we got this feature, and I was like, oh, this, because it was, what you were doing was this really.
You must have not really known about me at the time. It was weird because I was standing right next to him.
I'm so
you really
sorry,
should
Mike.
come. You should come.
Yeah, exactly. We were friends from sketch, and and
I was there too. It's okay.
Anyway, but it was a really important sort of like pathway moment,
Right.
like the diverging path moments, because like you were like, because what you were doing was deeply what I sort of had got into sketch comedy to do, which was like, I interned with Michael Moore and The Daily Show, and like my first job out of college was on like a Triumph movie about the election, and just like, oh, how do you turn sketch comedy into social activism was very much like what I had conceived of like going into this field for, and you were doing it. I mean, really deeply doing it, and so but then there was this like feature career that was like really starting to take off, and I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like Adam's sort of offering me this thing that like is the thing that I said I wanted back then, but I'm at this moment where I'm like, I don't think I want that anymore. I think I want to just sort of be a storyteller. And
I was next to him with 2 bags of money, and I was like,
I didn't know that this was such a moment for you.
No, it was
also,
like,
I didn't until just now. I didn't even know he'd been offered a job behind my back.
I was like, I guess you just didn't like the prompt. You didn't like
No,
me.
I loved it so much, but it was a crisis. It was like an emotional crisis. It was like,
wow,
whoa, I've changed. Like it was a moment where I was like, wow, like that's the thing I very much like set out to do when I started this whole thing.
Yeah.
And to be a part of what you were doing would have been really special. But I also registered, I was like, I think that's not what I'm looking to do anymore.
And what was that movie?
You don't want to know. It wasn't really at the time I was like so proud of it, but boy was I wrong.
Well, I can't even imagine. It was like it was like the 7th Earnest sequel.
I mean,
like,
I
what
can't
was it
even-
Have you
that
heard Dustin
didn't-
checks
that
in?
You passed up a chance to work with me to do.
It's so humiliating. It ruins the story by telling you it was.
But in fairness,
At the time, we were like, oh my god, we're like,
it was our first studio.
It was our first real inside this belly of the beast studio movie.
Yeah.
We were like in production. We were doing like these reshoots, and we were like, really in it with like the president of the studio, and so it was very real. It was like, oh my god, we're making a movie. But it was the Monster Trucks movie.
The Monster Trucks movie.
Monster Trucks movie,
arguably one of the worst movies of all time. After it was shot. But you.
I mean, I don't take any exception to that.
I mean, what you come to understand is that, like, a lot of sausage gets made, and somebody's got to make it. But
you can actually like trace our career and be like, that led to that, led to that. It is all very one-to-one, I would say. But I would say also that the sketch background and the UCB background, the improv sketch, working with a group of friends and just like throwing ideas up at the wall has served us tremendously in this world, and it kind of given us a leg up, especially in the feature world where a lot of feature writers write alone. They're not animated. They haven't performed on stage. Like, we are better pitchers than like a lot of people, just because we've been on stage selling ourselves, and also we can shift and alter our pitches based on like what's working and what's not working. And also, like, so much of rewrite work in Hollywood is also about, for comedies, is like, what are the set pieces? And set pieces are, in a lot of ways, are sketches, or just sketches with. So there, it is to say, it's like we left sketch, but also like we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for like that backbone. I think it made us a little more unique. We weren't just coming out of film school, like having just studied, film. We were making comedy.
Well, when you come out of live comedy, you're thinking about like there's an audience in front of you. There's literal people. How do I make them laugh? And I remember when I started working on Adam Ruins Everything, I was like, okay, I'm imagining the audience sitting. I was always imagining myself as like 15 years old, like watching TV in the basement, like watching Comedy Central. What would I enjoy? That connection to the audience, I think, comes out of doing live comedy too, where it's like there's a pressure
in your DNA too, in the most important way. Where like even if you're not like when you're writing a bit now, like you eventually have to actually stress test it with the real audience, but like you also do have an internal clock about like how laughs come out, where they come out, what a punchline really is or means, and it's if you don't have that live comedy experience, it takes you so much longer to ever figure out like how to craft an actual joke that is funny. That is like you can be in the ballpark of a funny idea that is still not actually going to elicit a laugh.
Yeah.
And so that experience is enormously helpful. I'd also say then, we're doing movies, all sorts of different movies and TV stuff. But then the biggest thing we ended up getting onto, we wrote this movie, the Chippendales Rescue Rangers movie, which was deeply just a sort of a, an if that then what else sketch, where it's like, okay, all right, so it's hot, it's LA Confidential, but it's if cartoons were the stars of Hollywood. And so it just became this never-ending game in that movie of like, okay, so what does it look like to get plastic surgery in this world? Oh, it's CGI surgery. And what does it look like to
what are drugs in this world?
It's cheese. Yeah, exactly. And so like and so like there was that was deeply that exercise. And that movie eventually Akiva Schaffer, who also is now a longtime collaborator of ours, but also very as much from a sketch comedy background as anyone, saw the script, he loved it, and decided to jump in, and we made that movie, and that's ultimately how we ended up on Naked Gun here, which was we had just finished Rescue Rangers. It had just come out. It had done pretty well, and then Paramount sort of was like really loved that movie. They really, I think, felt a little nagged by the ugly Sonic character. Who
that like made headlines that you guys made fun of Sonic.
Made fun of Sonic the Hedgehog for the previous iteration of him being shitty, played by Tim Robinson. And anyway, so they basically went to Akiva. They were like, Akiva, would you want to bring back Naked Gun? And Akiva was like, yeah, let's do it. And he sort of gave us a call like right off and be like, let's all do that together.
And were you guys like veering back towards doing comedy? Because I know in between, again, you did lots of different types of
Monster
movies.
Trucks.
Yeah, Monster Trucks. You did a Ninja Turtles movie,
Let's stop
right?
bringing that up. Let's just
yeah, we did it. We did. That was another early project at Paramount. Was we worked on the Ninja Turtles movie, I mean, it sort of goes back to what we were saying about like the Marvelization of comedy, where it's a good skill set to have, because ultimately if you're a good writer of storytelling and you can do comedy, then suddenly that is what most mainstream Hollywood movies are, which is like it's some other thing that also happens to be funny. And so that's been our bread and butter of just trying to make those kinds of movies, sell those kind of movies. But then to just, truly to have the sort of the harnesses taken off and just be like, actually just do the comedy was shocking, truly.
I think one of the things that's really special about the Naked Gun franchise is that like it's a beloved series that a lot of people have emotional connections to. And what they specifically have connections to is the comedy writing. And your movie really showed that. Like there's other comedies where, I don't know, people love Jim Belushi movies, and they love Belushi. That's the thing that they love, is they love Belushi, him. Yeah. Or the Blues Brothers, it's really almost like the style and the music, and it's the whole like gestalt. But like, my main memory is I loved the show Police Squad, because they would rerun it on Comedy Central, and I was like, it was like a portal to a kind of comedy writing that I was at like midnight on some
100%.
Because the Reforming is so it's what Zaz created, with Police Squad and Airplane was just like playing it straight and just saying the jokes, like taking the tropes. So you have like these dramatic character actors delivering these lines. So it's never going to be Belushi. It's never going to be Aykroyd or Jim Carrey, like hamming it up for any reason. It's just going to be the lines and the setting.
It's funny. It's funny how it's
visual.
the most writer forward thing you can do, because you're actually saying like, look, I'm literally taking the exact same thing as another movie that's not funny, and you're laughing now. So the only thing that's actually different is the like
the
very
words
particular wording
or the very particular props that you've created or whatever. It is very, very writer forward.
And I'm having trouble thinking of other comedies that work that. I mean, even like The Simpsons, right? Which is one of the deepest influences on any comedy writer. Mm-hmm. People are still watching The Simpsons, even though the writing is not the classic writing that we all remember from seasons 3 through whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Because the characters are there's
and I mean, it's funny because I mean, we in writing this movie now, we really dove into a lot of the underneath mechanics of like, I think what made those early movies work and what made, Naked Gun so special. And one of the little tricks that like you want the audience to leave saying, it's just comedy. Oh my God, it's so funny. But the truth is that like there's just enough story that works, that you're tracking, you care about enough. The emotional relationships are just meaningful enough.
Mm-hmm.
You really are rooting for Pam and Liam. You really are rooting for Leslie and Priscilla. Like when they kiss, you feel it. You're like, you're happy about it.
Yeah.
And so those things really matter. But you ultimately don't need or want the audience to even think that they matter all that much. They matter a lot, actually.
If you've done your job correctly, you're thinking it. You're watching and being like, it doesn't matter. If the moment you're like, what the hell's going on here? Then you're like, well, you fucked up. I mean, and look, I think that that's one of the pitfalls of trying to write a Naked Gun or something, is that you get the blank page and you're just like, you want to write a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And but then if you go back and you watch Police Squad, you watch Airplane, you watch Naked Gun, especially you watch the first 20 minutes of Airplane, it's slow. It is not chock full of jokes. You really settle into the genre and the tropes, and then they start coming in a little bit more and more. But so one of the skills, and we learned it through early drafts of being like, no, we have to breathe more. Like this scene is just like, that's not a joke. We need 2 more straight lines at least to kind of settle in and then do it. And look, now we're getting really inside baseball. And
no, please.
Writing comedy, but like it is like the kid in you wants to be like, no, every line is a joke.
Yeah.
It's because that's how you remember it. That's how you remember Naked Gun. You're like, giant condom, like, dancing, pistachios everywhere. Like everything is just, you're just remembering the jokes, but really you go back and you're like, oh, this scene, like they pull up, it's a crime scene, and that's,
the stakes are there. Anyway, it's just an interesting lesson, but to the Simpsons or, growing up also, I was obsessed with this genre of like spoof and big comedy. And then, there's this sort of like flavor of like, are you a Mel Brooks person? Are you a Zaz person? Are you a Monty Python person? Like they're all circling the same things, but there's sort of there is different tones to them. I mean, like, and again, like you have Mel Brooks and there's sort of a fuzzier, warm character heart at the center of a lot of those movies that these movies are so much more hard comedy, hard jokes. Right. And they're almost litmus tests to like probably the personality we all had as like
whatever you like more.
Or like, oh, I like this a little more than that. And they certainly inform like how you develop your taste,
Yeah. Does it feel risky at all working on a movie like this where the appeal to the audience is going to be that you've done just sort of the right bit of comedy gymnastics. You've done a triple backflip. It's landed for people. It's a little bit about the pyrotechnics of it. When we were sort of talking about action comedies, to me, not to throw shade at any of those movies, but it's like, well, hey, if you're giving people an action movie too, then you're giving them something familiar and it'll just work on that level. Yeah. Right. It doesn't need, but when you're like, hey, it's going to be joke with the bit of story you're talking about as well.
Just enough. It's a comedy.
And also knowing in movies, especially movie comedies, it's like you do one big flop and you're done. Like I won't list people, but there's some of the comedians I revere the most did one studio comedy, it flopped, they never did another one, and it took them 5 years to recover, right?
No, it was, it took every ounce of I don't know, of ignorance really to just put all that aside. Because you have to jump in. I mean, even just jumping into this property is horrifying, really.
Yeah, totally scary.
And
it's perfect. Naked Gun, you go back to it, it still holds up. Like it's so it's like, why, Dan was saying it the other day, and I've said it, like, if I heard the announcement that Naked Gun was getting remade, it would be like, ugh, why?
Why?
Don't.
Fuck them.
Please.
Yeah, exactly.
Why? Get away from everything. Just write something new. Do something new. So I get it. But also, I think, look, we also talked about this a lot. Akiva and I, all of us talked about it. Part of it was that Liam was doing it. And Liam isn't Leslie, and he's not trying to be Leslie. And that in and of itself became like, okay, we want to take the DNA. We want to be able to like honor what Zaz did with Police Squad and Naked Gun, but we have Liam, and Liam sounds different, and he delivers lines differently,
and he's created a genre
and
unto
he's created a genre
basically
unto himself in the
decade.
last decade, exactly. So that did give us the confidence where we're like, hopefully it won't look completely like we're just doing a cheap knockoff of the thing that was so great.
Yeah.
But thank God it worked. Because it easily could have.
Well, I think it worked because again, you guys captured the spirit of the kind of comedy writing that it was. It wasn't just a knockoff of like, oh, here's the characters and here's the themes or whatever. Here's the world. Yeah. It was like when I heard about it, I was like, oh, wonderful. I miss this style of comedy writing, and that's you guys, nailed it. I have to ask like obligatorily, like
how much did we make on it?
No. Yes.
Yeah,
how much?
Yes.
No, actually, no. I do.
We're gonna wait to find out what the residuals are.
It's a different podcast.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair.
Do the WJ podcast.
In terms of Liam's like comedy chops, right? Like, how much were you prepared for how funny he could be, how much he would get it? Because did it make you mad as comedians to be like, God damn it, this guy's...
No, that's what was... I mean, first of all, there's that Ricky Gervais show. I don't know if I've ever seen it, but he did one scene on
Extras?
It was not...
It was
the one
Life
after,
is Short?
Life is Short.
Oh, okay.
If you haven't seen it,
it's spectacular. And he basically plays himself asking his agent, played by Ricky Gervais, to
no, he's Ricky Gervais. I think he's. He's going in and being like,
"I want to use."
Like,
as his agent.
I think they're all each other, and and he's like, "I want to do comedy."
Right.
It's been set like a meeting has been set up with Liam, and he's like, "I want to do comedy. I'm really funny," and like it devolves into this.
Him being like, let me do an improv scene with you. I want to do an improv scene, and he proceeds to give the most intense, uncomfortably serious improv scene.
And he never breaks and he never pushes, but he clearly understands what's funny about it.
Yeah.
And that was sort
of the proof of concept to us in a lot of ways. We're like, oh, that one scene is the whole movie. Yeah. Which is just like this guy playing Taken in saying the stupidest things imaginable is hilarious. And so that alone to us gave us the confidence that he got it. And that we were never going to need to ask him to do anything other than Taken.
Right.
That was the biggest thing.
So we weren't surprised in that way, although I will say,
I mean, he was better than we ever going to hope.
He was better than even we thought he would be.
Because he was perfect on every first take.
Like, every take was really good, and we could give him alts because he got the first take. And it was like, yeah, that's the read. That's totally it.
So I mean, it was even better and easier than we could have hoped. But at the very least, we knew going in that if we just ask him to do the character he's been doing pretty consistently for the last 10, 15 years, we're good. Like that's the whole name of this game is just like, what's the stupidest thing you can get Liam Neeson to say? And so we felt,
boy, did we push him.
Yeah,
I mean, him saying apple to app and taboo, that was one of the biggest laughs for me. It was just like listing the third and fourth members of the Black Eyed Peas. And the whole a room full of people laughing at the name apple to app.
Yeah.
I was like, that joke's just for me.
Right. Yeah, I know. It felt like that.
That is one of the bits that like I remember the three of us being like, because we would do, all three of us do poor Liam impressions. That was part of like before it would go, be like, will this be funny? Him saying like, I love the Black Eyed Peas, apple diap, taboo, and we must have said that list out loud 1,000 times before it was ever even. We didn't even have a scene for it. Like we just knew we just liked the idea of him being very, very confident and very like. So passionate about the Black Eyed Peas was just very funny to us.
And it's like these close shots on them going back and forth.
Yeah, and then like my favorite moment is when they actually earn each other's respect from it, and then they're like, "This guy's not bad."
When they say the Duchess, like, the Duchess.
Okay,
maybe I was wrong about it.
I made it with a fellow compatriot.
And to your point, that works because they had been playing a pretty straight scene up until that point, and then suddenly it slips into saying the stupidest thing you've ever heard.
And again, like the trope of the movie, we watched so many Bond and Mission Impossible movies going into this too, where like there's always the way the hero and villain are circling each other in the first act, where it's like they're the storytelling trope, the save the cat rule is that they're equal and opposite sort of parts to the story, which is like they complement each other in that way. And so you're like, okay, that's how every movie does it, and it's functionally a cliche. And so how do we make our hero and villain also circling each other, where it's like they're saying the flip sides of the same thing, and one's the good version of it, one's the bad version of it. It's Black Panther and Killmonger, but stupid. And that was every moment of the movie was like, okay, this is what happens in the movies now. Basically, how do we do the stupid version of it? And
Wow. That's one of the satisfactions of writing like spoof parody comedy is you just get to be like, that's the thing. I get to do the thing and have the pleasure of writing the thing.
Yeah.
And then writing jokes on top of it. Like sometimes you almost feel like you get to do it more purely than an actual movie gets to.
Yes,
for sure.
Because you can just like double and triple down on the trope.
Yeah.
We're looking
that's
for
what
the
you're supposed
trope, and when
Yeah.
you're
Right.
writing another movie, you're like, oh, this is such a trope.
Oh, we have to bury this
We
trope.
go, oh, God,
Yeah.
I know we need it, but like, how do we make it not sound like the trope? Our job is the opposite.
Like-
It's like once we're watching movies and once we see something twice, we're like, that's a trope.
Yep.
Like, and
That's going in.
Yeah.
And then how do we make it even more intense?
and how do
double
we,
down?
yeah, how do we really put a spotlight on it? Make sure everyone knows what the trope is, and then really rip it apart.
The owl stuff was a good example of that, where like that wasn't in the movie for a while, and later in the development process, the studio was giving this note that was just like exhausting, where it's like, should the movie be more about like, his relationship with his father and proving, it's about masculinity, and we're like, oh, like, blow my brains out. And then but once we were like, wait, actually that note is the note that you'd expect in the movie. So why don't we just do the stupidest version of it? And so let's make it that he's constantly asking for an owl to be represented by his father. We had another beat in the whole
Give
middle
me a
where
sign.
he had a beat in the middle of the movie that ended up getting cut eventually, but it was like, Daddy, please, I'm desperate, give me a sign like an owl or something. And then this sort of mystical music comes in and the smoke billows through, and he looks and he sees like a white wolf walk by with like magical music, and he's like, yes, but an owl.
I mean, the idea of taking a network note and being like, well, that note's annoying. Oh, wait, a movie like this
It's annoying.
would get an annoying
It's
note.
annoying
exactly.
because it's a trope.
Yeah.
So then we'll make the note.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
such a wonderful approach to taking
Yeah, it was
notes.
great. I was like, oh, and it totally is like, it's the whole end of the movie. I mean, it's great.
I honestly found it like it was inspiring to watch as, I'm now a comedy writer in my early 40s, and I'm like trying to find like, oh, why did I get into this in the first place?
Yeah.
And what do I enjoy in this after doing it for a long time? And it really like brought me back to what I love about comedy writing. It was like inspiring to watch.
Thank you.
How did, tell me a little bit more about the writing process. Like it must have been very different from writing. Like what did you,
I mean,
how many other writers did you have working on it beyond
it was just
Akiva?
us.
It really just, you
I mean,
punch
that-
up.
I mean, we had a couple punch up sessions with great writers.
Yeah.
And sent it to some people, but it really, was. But the moment we got the job, or even before, we started texting immediately. But we went to Akiva's office every day. We hired a writer's assistant, which is something you don't usually do on movies.
Truly had to fight for her to get
to
brought to set, had to
get it.
fight to her to even get credit. They don't even like credit writers' assistants on movies.
Wow.
It's crazy.
And
Wow.
and it was just, we sat there. We made our own little mini writer's room, like more like a classic TV writer's room with the three of us. First 2 weeks was just about the plot, making sure we got the plot right. Again, like what Dan was saying, like how do you make something that's simple, that works, that has drive, but then is easily forgettable, doesn't get in the way of the comedy. And then once we kind of felt comfortable with the story that we'd come up with, it just became pitching, watching tons of movies.
Yeah, I mean,
Sending
it was
tropes
a
to one
good
another.
thing where it's like we would have, because it was there were two things going on, which was story writing, and we, you'd write a scene, you're like, this is funny, but it probably is 5 jokes short of what the scene actually is going to need when we make a movie like this that has a volume of jokes. But just trusting that, like, as long as the scene works, there's something fun about it.
We'll find
that
the
we'll
jokes.
find more jokes, and then simultaneously having these sort of just like late night text chats going, where it's like we were constantly watching every noir, every action movie, everything from the last 30 years of of these things, so that when we identified a trope, we could just send it to each other. We'd take a video of John Wick is almost half of them are almost parody movies unto themselves.
Oh yeah,
they just don't wink at it. Like John Wick has people who dodge bullets with swords. They fight with horses.
Yeah.
Like
those movies also change as you watch them. Like the first one's really sort of like a gritty crime drama.
They become more self-aware,
and they become very silly and cartoony.
The Fast and the Furious movies are in fucking outer space at this point.
Those are
like literally in outer space. They are spoofs unto themselves. I loved RRR. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh my god!
But like, where does that even live on the spectrum of like parody to action movie to sincerity? It's an amazing movie, but the things they do in that movie are so, despite the laws of physics, that many of them would easily fit a Naked Gun. Right. Like he's motorcycle. He's fighting with a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like
they do a whole fight scene.
The chicken fight with him on his shoulders, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're just like, that's psychotic.
Yeah.
Right.
Truly psychotic.
If Liam Neeson had done that in your movie, it would have just played for laughs and been great, funny comedy.
Exactly.
There's some scenes that are like that.
Yes.
Like comedy fight scenes.
Where exactly. And so, that third act where he's just kicking the gun clip was very much like in the RRR mold of
and a little bit of John Wick parody
too. Exactly. That certainly was, we were trying to build in, like, all right, the rules of physics are so make believe in so many of these modern action movies. Let's really try to like land on that joke. But so that was sort of the simultaneous track of this writing, which was story, make sure the story's working, the emotions are working, all of it's going forward. There's comedy everywhere, but it doesn't have to be overloaded. And that was the scariest part, was like not trusting that it would come, we'd find it, that the script in the early stages was not necessarily overstuffed with jokes, but that we had this sort of grab bag of like funny things, funny areas, funny observations that we could then keep stuffing in, to the point where, again, we showed up on set with an 800-page alt packet.
Wow.
Like that's not an exaggeration. And so that, the moment Liam is, perfect on a first line, it's like, oh, let's get this. Or we're talking to the props department and be like, oh, let's just get another coffee cup in there. And, and so we were kind of aware that the eventual pace of this movie does have to be joke. Joke. It does need a clip of jokes, of a volume that is unlike any other modern comedy. And so we knew that eventually we have to get it all there. We just were really good, and our writer's assistant, Alyssa Aaron, deservedly deserves a lot of credit for just keeping it all in a brain space where it's like, ooh, this would be good here, this would be good here. Stuff that, we're even just on set, we're like, Champagne shows up one day on set and we're like, oh, good. Oh, that's where we can stick up this Cosby joke. That's sort of stuff that it just reveals itself a little bit.
In terms of like, that's so much effort, right? That kind of comedy writing. You guys put so much work into it. There's so many balls to keep in there. There's so much to hold on to. So this is a couple years of your lives.
It was
making.
Other than the strike slowed
was
it
right in the middle.
But it was, also truly a miracle that never happens. But because Liam was in before even we were in, there was this like sort of like tunnel towards an end date that was very.
There was a momentum to the movie that really did light a fire. And then also, again, when you have three people, it's not like writing in your office alone. There was a kind of electricity of just like, we were putting out a lot of work every single day. And because we had a Kiva, because we're writing with the director, that also changes things. Because then you suddenly like, studio filmmaking is for writers. There's generally way less respect for the writing in studio films, but directors do have respect. So you have your star who is a movie star, and you have a Kiva who people are excited about, and that really does go a long way. And we're writing with a Kiva, so there was a sense that it just had this momentum. So it didn't take. It
was about 3.5 months before the strike.
3.5 months, and then
pencils down, Adam. Pencils down. And
I had my eye on you.
Exactly.
We appreciate your solidarity.
This is ironclad. Also, we were like, the day we were like, we need to have this stamped. We sent it to our lawyers.
Everyone got it. I'm pretty sure.
It was a whole thing. We really like stepped it out. We're like, and then we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it for.
We didn't
6
talk
months.
about it. We truly did not talk about it.
And then
thank you.
And
no, for real. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and then we came back, and then it was another 3.5 months before we got a a soft green light where they basically greenlit us to make
proof
a
of
proof of concept like presentation, basically.
Oh,
where
wow.
we filmed one scene
With Liam?
yeah, with Liam.
Wow.
which would then go to the board of like, directors.
What scene was that?
It was
It was a blend of the interrogation scene with Busta Rhymes and the hospital scene with the villain.
of being like, oh, they're gonna love you in prison, but
So we sort of were like, oh, let's just try to get as many of our favorite jokes in here as possible.
and we could do it in a monolocation, just do it there, and then
But you had a whole screenplay, but you picked this is the scene.
it was the most producible in a day. I mean, that's basically
we
what
had one day. We didn't want to go shoot. We couldn't shoot multiple places.
I would love to see that one.
It's good.
That,
Yeah,
like,
it's
that just sounds fun to shoot. Like, we got one day with Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
We've been working on
exactly.
these jokes for a while.
Yeah.
Let's shoot it. That sounds like a blast.
Dude, that was seriously a sketch. That was sketch comedy to a T. It was just like, all right, we just show up. We're just gonna like bang it out. We're in a random like storage unit on the Paramount lot that looks like a weird dark interrogation room.
I mean, it was lit properly. It was great, but it was also like, man, there's a lot riding on this too. Like, again, this is the first time we've ever heard Liam as Frank Drebin Jr.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what's going to make or break it. We had a script that everyone liked, but it was clearly didn't matter if this sucked.
Well, and
Mhm.
and it's hard. A lot of people, it's not real until they see it, and they're like, I don't know, is this funny?
Especially when you have people being like, even if they know that Naked Gun shouldn't have a comedian in it, you'd be amazed at how many people are still like, but it's Liam.
That was the fight at every step. Early development was just
there was just so much fear. Like, we're gonna greenlight this. We're gonna spend tens of millions of dollars
on a comedy with
on
no
a
comedians.
Liam Neeson comedy. There's fear, like significant.
I think part of it is people forget because Leslie Nielsen became a comic actor.
That's
He was in like
100%
Mr.
right.
Magoo and shit.
That's 100% correct.
exactly.
Which is in Airplane. Those people were all dramatic actors. They were all
Leslie Nielsen was a thriller star. Like
He was-
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
and not even a star. He was
a B-movie
He was a
star.
B-movie kind of like character actor. He was in the Poseidon Adventure.
Mhm.
But
I mean, all of them were dramatic actors, and again, he becomes this comedic icon. But the movie, the formula they sort of figured out in that movie is because they cast.
And this was a fight that they had all the time too. If you read there's a book called Don't Call Me Shirley. Is that what it is? It's the story of Airplane. It's great.
I'm just glad that that's the title.
Yeah, no,
it's a great book.
It's a really fun book, and it's about the beginnings of
and
them
you would
at
love
the
it so much.
Kentucky Fried Theater.
I gotta read this.
I've talked to you about Exquisite Corpse being my favorite movie of all time.
This is the movie that my sketch group made that about the process of making a sketch comedy movie together.
It's really great.
Honestly, prior to reading this book, that was the only art I'd ever seen that felt like it connected to my experience of like, wow, what a specific time and place in someone's life to like be making this low budget art with someone. But this book actually captures the same exact thing and in a beautiful way happening in the 70s and like the early, mid 70s about these guys basically coming out of Wisconsin and just being a sketch group together.
Just finding a shitty theater space, putting
moving
up
to
themselves,
LA,
having no idea how to write movies.
Wow.
Like, I'd never even seen a script before, like let alone the format or anything like that. But so much of it is about their upbringing, like coming up through LA where they, but also there's so much is about the casting arguments they had with the people, like executives still being like, these are not comedians. And they're like, yes, that's the point. And, here we are still making, after they proved that it could work, we're still like, people were still very scared.
Yeah, prove it again.
Yeah.
It's sort of how comedy works. You have to show people that it's funny. You can't describe
I know.
why
it's very hard
funny.
to trust.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
And we sure as hell tried to describe in the pre-production process, and it didn't work. You just have to show.
Well, something that I'm frightened about right now is kind of the death of comedy writing. Like, I grew up loving comedy writing, wanting to be a comedy writer, having my mind blown by stuff like the Naked Gun guys or by Monty Python or The Simpsons, etc., and wanted to give people that same sense of shock and surprise, but it's like effortful. It costs money to do.
Yeah.
And, right now I'm confronting, I've done the kind of comedy that I've done for 15 years now. And like, I can't figure out who's going to pay to have it done. I mean, like late night, for example, we're watching a whole genre of comedy writing. People are like, is it dead? ?
Right.
And it's, where is it going? People still want to watch funny people talk about the news, but they're watching it here on YouTube and podcasts where there's a $0 budget that you're hoping to sell MeUndies ads against. And so you don't have, money to buy writers. I do monologue videos for this channel where I have writers, but I can like barely afford to pay two people script to script plus myself. Whereas I'm like, if I really wanted to do work of the caliber that I'm used to making and watching, I'd have 10 people, right?
Right, exactly.
And you guys have like created this thing that shows the value of that effortly high budget comedy writing. Do you think there's a future for it? Do you think your movie shows that?
I do genuinely believe that like we have to figure out production costs. That's like it's so expensive to film in, and it's such a complicated debate. Is it just a race to the bottom to get these tax incentives from state to state? And, Disney or Marvel just packed up from Atlanta to move to London. And so
Wow.
and I hate going to Atlanta to work. I don't want to go to Atlanta. I live here. But now I'm like, oh fuck, now I got to commute to London. That's even worse.
Yeah.
And so,
God, I gotta go to London. Can you imagine?
Yeah, well,
But no, but
I got a little. I know. I would love
gotta
to
go to visit.
I
but
was
you
like,
don't wanna
also,
go to work.
did Adam offer you a job in London that I don't know about? Where are you going?
Yeah. No, but it's like you moved to Los Angeles to work in Los Angeles. You didn't move to Los Angeles to work everywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Well, there's the famous story that sticks out to me is they made a Rob Lowe game show.
Right, exactly.
And they shot it in Ireland and flew Rob and all the contestants to Ireland, even though they have a soundstage in LA.
And so
how does that make sense for anybody? That's a bad world.
It's kind of crazy. And so I don't know. I don't have strong answers to how we bring production costs back in line with the market value of these things, because I think that's ultimately like what we learned on this movie was, there without basically Adam Sandler being able to force some exorbitant budget onto Netflix, there has to be a limit to how much they spend up front to make the risk of it worth it. And so, and that goes up and down the ladder. There's only so much monetary output that any of these financiers can expect to get back. Obviously you have your mega hit suddenly, and that finances a certain amount of failures, but you want to be able to not lose a lot of money on something that's just like a little successful. And you want to make things that are a little successful, because that's the point. Like,
I want to be optimistic because I do think that people love comedy still. Like, and how many articles are we going to see about like, oh, these kids today they're rediscovering Friends for the first time, and they're watching The Office now, and it's like people want it. I wish I understood and there was more transparency with the economics of streaming and like what. Where
I don't know if they have transparency on the inside. I don't know if they know what makes something.
Maybe they don't.
Are they still functionally like loss leadering their own companies, where it's like, we're just going to try to sell as much of this so that we crush everyone else.
It feels that way.
Yeah,
that's how it feels. So look, there's still every year we still hear they still want to make multicams, because that is a cheaper model for better or worse sitcoms, but specifically multicams.
Yeah. We hear that. Where are the sitcoms? Where are they?
They're few and far between. Dan has sold one with Rachel. Hopefully that'll go. But the pilot season is all but done now. That doesn't, which sucks, and that.
Well, it's also financed a lot of lives. I mean, that was a huge change in people's lives.
There are plenty of people who made their living on being like, I'm in development every other year on a pilot that never gets made.
I was going back and watching The Comeback because there's the new one coming out with Lisa Kudrow, and they made one every 10 years. And so I watched the one from 20 years ago, and it's about her getting cast in this pilot, and they're doing rewrites. Like, okay, we did a little test rehearsal. We're going to rewrite the character. And they would go back in a room and do it. I was like, that's how it used to work. Like, and I was almost in the industry at that time. Like, that's within living memory.
I mean, truly, we
just got there.
You had the last years of that.
We're so lucky that we were the last years of the middle era of where it's like we were writer producers. We got to be on set. We got to edit. But when we were just like baby writers and we were 23 and taking our first meetings, we were taking meetings with all the old Friends and Cheers writers. And these dudes were millionaires for nothing.
Yeah.
Truly. Like,
if you were on a hit show, you were
set for life.
You were set forever. Because there were like 8 shows on TV.
And they were, if you got
shows that didn't do well, still had 40 million viewers.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
And they had 26 episodes.
And you had 26.
And you get an overall deal just for being associated with it, and you'd make millions for years.
Right. So obviously that doesn't exist anymore. And that doesn't feel like it's coming back.
And that's a market inefficiency that like it's hard to justify, right? Where and it's hard to justify the idea that like, we should have made 30 pilot. We should buy, 50 pilot scripts to shoot 20 pilot episodes to air 4 or 5. That's so inefficient. That's so inefficient.
But I mean, that's how when you guys are writing jokes, you wrote 50 jokes to have one in the script, you know?
Yeah, but a joke costs very little money, and a pilot costs like several $1 million.
There's probably something in between.
But when it comes to creativity, like, you need to generate a lot of stuff.
But if I can understand not wanting to spend.
But you could also argue that because of that, you're giving yourself less of a chance of finding the ones that could really break through. So then every year, you're putting your money behind 4 comedies a year, and maybe one of them gets a second season because. So you could also make the argument that if you shoot a couple more of them, you give yourself a better chance of being like, no, this is great.
I am making a pilot right now that is literally the only pilot for this network for this year. Wow. And it's just like, and I'm happy to be alive, but also it is tragic. It was good news when we found out that everyone else had been killed off, and then also horrifying news because it was like, are you kidding me? Like they're not making
a Disney-owned company. What are we talking about here?
We're the only thing you're going to make
IFC. All year. The fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And make 3 more.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
That is scary.
You got an extra $1 million?
Yeah. Just let's go. But that does also speak to Dan saying like maybe theoretically if production costs can come down, maybe it does open up being like maybe now we get back instead of shooting 1 pilot, we're shooting 2 or 3.
And this is vague and perhaps Pollyannish, but I am hopeful that filmmaking technology is improving in such a way where like the cameras are, it's complicated, but like, the cameras have spectacular autofocus now, right? You don't need a focus puller as one example among many.
Okay, you're going to get the focus pullers union after.
I know, I probably am, but like,
I saw you starting this argument. I was like,
that is the wrong podcast.
You're going to start talking about how AI is going to make everything better.
What I'm talking about is how I certainly don't think that that's going to be the creative part of it, but I do think that there's production elements that are, as technology improves, will be improved. I mean, that'll be cheaper. It'll require less mechanics,
but that's been
less
happening
material.
For a while.
I know,
and that money hasn't gone back into the creators.
The budgets have remained the same. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is that you look at what it took to film something on like 35 millimeter and like how much more efficient it is.
Right.
Hey, you shoot to a card and like plug it into the MacBook.
Why is that now more expensive than it was then? 100%. You're right. So there's just mission creep and bloat, I suppose, but
and like Wall Street and the quest for efficiency on the part of these companies to like slash and burn absolutely everything is part of it as well. But I mean, it is. There's the cost of production. Like comedy is something that's supposed to be cheap, right? It's supposed to be cheaper than other things. So if the cost goes down, maybe we can make more.
Get the camera up and running and get funny people in a room.
But the thing with comedy that you feel time and time again is it takes time to build a comedy audience. Like it's not going to start with a murder, like where a body is found under a bridge. Like it's going to be this thing where it's like it's sticky right away, or these whatever these catchphrases are about like we need something that catches eyeballs. Like shows have great comedies almost all the time have slow burns.
Seinfeld sucks for a while.
And then people aren't watching it really. Like How I Met Your Mother, the show we were on was on the chopping block for the first 4 years. And now everyone looks back at it
as
like,
mega hit.
It was a huge hit. It's one of the last ones, but it was almost canceled.
And then Britney Spears had an emotional meltdown and simultaneously did a guest spot on How I Met Your Mother, and it saved the show.
Yeah,
really?
Do you remember when she
cut her hair?
When she cut her hair and was having a breakdown. That happened to be the same week that she was guest starring on our show.
Yeah, they credit that appearance with like
saving the show, like legitimately.
Wow, because people are like, I gotta see what happens.
What happened with Britney?
I gotta see this head.
That was the first time you could see Britney after the meltdown was on our show, and so the ratings exploded from that, and that's legitimately.
I mean, was she melting down on the show? No,
we weren't there for that.
Although there were helicopters circling the stage. I mean, like that was it was.
This is before our time,
but we came in. We came in the next season off that, and everyone was telling us about it. And the show did explode off of that moment.
Yeah.
But it's just to say, it's
how do we manufacture that?
Like being obsessed with these, like it's got to be big, and people have to binge it, and it's like that's just. I think historically, that's not how comedies like they catch on slowly, and as you're writing them and performing them, they get better. Like almost no sitcom comes out of the gate and is fantastic right away. It happens sometimes.
Arrested.
But Arrested was fantastic immediately. 30 Rock is pretty great almost immediately.
Yeah,
But also
I would
30
say
Rock
like what
never
we
had,
do in the shadows. For
Yeah,
in the
I agree.
beginning, for a new
But
example.
that came off of a movie. So like
Fair
they
point.
did have
yes,
they
and-
did have quite a bit
yes.
of time to experiment going into
but
it.
it's fantastic for sure.
Yeah.
But like in general, it's like, especially like classic like sitcoms, like they take some time, and like you have to be committed to being like, we're gonna make some more episodes to see if it works.
Yeah.
And there seems to be no patience for that, and I do think that that's one of the
Well, and people also use that as an example of why comedy went to television rather than movies, because in television you can hang out with the characters,
Yeah.
you know the characters, you can do character comedy.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's what Dwight would do. That's what Stanley would
Right.
do.
Right.
It's I know these people, and that's the advantage, and it works well for comedy. And you guys wrote a movie that completely defies that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like has no
Yes.
one's like, oh yeah,
No, no.
I love Frank Drebin Jr.
I want to see. I know it's 100%.
I want to live with him for 85
Right,
minutes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's. I also think there's room for a lot of types of comedy.
Yeah.
A lot of space for comedy. I don't know. I'm also hopeful that that as these production costs, like as technology just becomes a little more accessible, that like there's no reason that we shouldn't be self-financing and producing our own stuff for YouTube. Like, just make it yourself and get it out there. And like the audience on YouTube is literally bigger than all of the other networks combined.
Yeah. The thing that I'm wondering is, again, YouTube really prioritizes like almost unscripted comedy.
It does, but I don't think there's anything inherent to YouTube as a platform.
No, it's just
for that. I mean, the production costs are higher to make a narrative. That's just it's always going to be more expensive to like just have to fucking flip a camera around and go do it again on another actor.
Yeah.
As opposed to just capturing reality. But nevertheless, for something contained enough, small enough, and efficient enough, I do think that there's space to put stuff on YouTube, and a creator, as we're seeing with like stand-up comedians self financing and then self-publishing their own specials, like there's more money to be made to have full ownership.
Yeah, the problem though is that like so online media requires such a fire hose of content.
Yes.
The problem becomes the writing. So like
Yeah.
what a lot of comics do is that they do their special. I'm going
Right.
to tape one later this year. It's going to go on YouTube, ideally. But what a lot of people do is they do crowd work, right? They
Right.
do improv.
The crowd work thing has become
Because
Yeah.
it's improvised and it's a way of creating an endless amount of content.
Yeah.
Podcasts are the same way, right?
Right.
So we've gone from like, Stephen Colbert employs 25 writers to Andrew Schultz and his 3 friends sitting around yucking it up
Right.
because they can just say, did you hear what,
Right.
And that's the trend that I'm like, are we going to see?
Yeah.
I miss written comedy. And what's so
Yeah.
unique to me about your movie is it's joke writing.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Mhm.
And there's production value, and like
Yeah.
someone had to go someone had to go make the bartender glass rag that goes back and forth with a little machine in the middle of it that like just squeaks just because it's in the background and it's fun for it to keep squeaking.
Yeah.
That's an expensive, stupid little joke, right?
Yeah.
Like if I were doing this like for myself, I would not pay out of my pocket to make that joke,
No
right?
way.
And so it does take money. I don't know. I don't know, Adam. We're all fucked.
That's that's fun. I mean, there's this group, there's a sketch group on YouTube called Almost Friday. Have you seen these guys?
I haven't.
They do very good stuff. And I was like, how'd they do this? And I believe it's a beer company financing it.
Oh.
Or it's some kind of company that's like, okay, we'll also do a comedy. People are finding the money in weird ways.
I mean, TV got its start as a sponsorship medium. It's okay. Like, you get the right sponsor that doesn't compromise the thing you want to do anyway. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's the soul of broadcast is like sponsorships,
exactly.
unfortunately.
I'll take RJ Reynolds.
People have heard me read ads like during this already. Where should we wrap up? What's a good final? What's on my clipboard? I haven't consulted yet.
Let's pull up that big green box.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we were just talking about. Do you think that this is? Do you guys feel like the response to the movie is going to open more doors to this type of comedy being made? Because I heard people going, "Oh my God, I missed this."
I do, and I also I do think that there's I do think as we sort of readjust the market of movie making, I do think that they're looking for more doubles, which is to me the whole thing, as opposed to only home runs, only superhero movies. I do think that like that the studios and in general where people are becoming more comfortable with the idea of like that was a kind of successful. That was a little successful, and that those are also successes, as opposed to the $1 billion hit.
And we're seeing fatigue also on those movies too, like all across the board.
On the $1 billion hit.
Yeah.
movies,
They're harder and harder to get to.
There seems to be some fatigue, which I think is a good sign. But I don't. The answer is I don't really know. I think it remains to be seen, like what this movie does for it. We'll just go back to the fact that I do feel people inside the industry wanting it to happen.
Yeah.
Like desperately. So that's a good sign, and hopefully that feeling moves up to the people in the top who are like, yeah, let's just try. Let's make like two straight ahead comedies a year, just like, or a couple more romantic comedies that have a little more edge to it, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I do think that's possible. I don't think the floodgates are going to open,
Yeah.
but I do think there's a world where things open up again and they see a path to profitability and the goodwill. Like, I will say that I think that Paramount is receiving a lot of goodwill from Naked Gun coming out.
They feel good about it.
Yeah.
And I
themselves.
do think that actually does mean something to like these people who make stuff. They're like, that maybe having a couple of movies like that, taking some swings with some comedians every year and being like, we made something cool, or we made something that's not another Marvel movie or whatever,
Yeah.
which
I
again,
mean,
we'd love to write.
I'm receiving it.
Fantastic 4, 5, 6,
yeah,
however many of the
whatever,
Fantastics
all
there
the
are.
Fantastics. I'm certainly receiving it personally from people, just like the joy that this movie is sparking, and I do think that that's in a wonderful way. You know, the world sucks, and to have a little outlet for joy is really not just nice and important, but like valuable.
Yeah,
And so
I think it means something.
yeah, and so
I have to believe it does.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a lane for this type of movie, this type of comedy, and just the idea of comedy and something that's, you know, meant to be funny and just make people get in a room and laugh together. It means something, and therefore it has value.
Yeah, I mean, I went out with a bunch of friends. We wanted something to do on a Friday night. We went to the movie. We came out smiling, go, wasn't that a good time?
Yeah.
Then we went and got a drink. You know, people, they just want the experience of going out and being entertained. And, you know, Doug, you said like how much it costs to go to the movies, family of 4, it's like $100. I'm like, what if you need AC and just do something with your family? Like,
global warming is going to help the movies.
What's cheaper? You know,
true.
like
It's true. Everything's expensive.
Like, what's cheaper than $25 a ticket? Yeah, you ever been to dinner? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And so if you can make, hey, people want to go out. Guess what?
Restaurants are closing too, Adam.
You know, if you give them something to do at the AMC near their house, and they can go sit in the dark and have a good time and have an outing for not too much trouble.
You go to MacGuffin's afterwards. You get yourself.
I also think we need to retrain people to do it too. Honestly, I think that we kind of lost, like, COVID really was. I don't know if you know this, but COVID was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, because it kind of seems like maybe it changed some things.
Yeah, I think it shifted things just a touch. I do think we have to retrain it. It's also like,
we train people that the only movies you're supposed to need to see in a theater are the big IMAX
movies.
things that are like seat rattlers and like really a visual events, and
as opposed to like, it's the weekend, what movie are we going?
What's going to be fun?
And that used to be a thing, obviously for us growing up, but even not that long ago, it was just like, all right, you open up the paper or you open up Fandango and you're like, what's there? Like,
and I do think we have to,
I think, retrain people.
I think the studios deserve some blame for ceding that territory to Netflix.
Yes.
Where it's like where they forgot that they had, they functionally had a monopoly on this type of experience, and that they were like, instead of just keeping people in the process, in the habit of coming, we're gonna let Netflix take over almost every
and
other
we're gonna
genre.
chase them by opening up our own shops.
One of the things that really stuck out to me is when the Mario Brothers movie came out a couple of years ago, and it was a big like surprise hit.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things I read afterwards was that it had been like a whole year had gone by since there was a family movie in theaters at all.
Yes.
And so there was just a movie
for
a family to go to.
For a family to go to, because parents have kids and they need to fucking do something with the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same thing happened with Minecraft. The same thing.
Exact thing.
Where people were like, whoa. Now, again, it's a huge property.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest properties on
Super
the
Mario
both
and
of them.
Minecraft.
Right.
However, there was a shock there, and it was like,
they both overperformed. They both did better than people expected.
They both overperformed, and there was reportedly quite a bit of joy in the Minecraft viewings. Kids were like on their seats. I didn't see it.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
No, it was like Rocky Horror for children.
Yeah, it was great.
Screaming at
Amazing.
the screen.
So
Yeah.
still getting
I
popcorn
think that
thrown at me.
those look at those, and I say that gives me hope.
Yeah. Well, your movie gave me hope. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thanks,
making
buddy.
it, and thanks for
Thanks,
being
dude.
on the show. And I hope you guys make so many more in the future. I
Hope
can't
so.
wait to see the next thing that I'm sure that coming out of this, you're gonna have some great next project.
Apparently,
ahead of
Dan's
you.
going to London for
I'm
something.
apparently going to London. I'm gonna make Monster
He doesn't
Truck
want.
6.
He doesn't want to go. But
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. So, Adam, I'm
Horrible
technically
place.
available.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you're thinking about that writer's room again,
That's
I know you can only afford 2 writers, but
Yeah,
you know what, man? Let's do something.
let's do
Great.
it.
All right, fine.
Thank you guys. Where can people find any other shit that you want to point them towards?
I mean, Gregor Corp on Instagram and X still. I don't know.
Okay.
Threads.
I'm not really posting. I'm there just lurking on the socials.
Okay, go see Naked
Yeah.
Gun.
Go
How
Go
about
see
that.
it.
that?
Oh,
Buy a
wait,
ticket
when
to
does
see
when
Naked
does this come out? When does the show come out?
Pretty soon, I hope.
Well,
So
go
if
see
next
go
month.
see it in
If
theaters.
it's in the theaters, go see it. If it's not,
Go
get it
rent
on
it or
demand.
buy it. We have our
Go
best residuals on the rental market on
But
video
go
on
to the
demand.
theater.
Go fucking rent. Yeah, rent.
get a group of people.
Go to the theater or rent it. It's like $3.
Yeah.
Like people get all in a twist about spending $3 to rent a brand new movie.
Also,
on a streaming
there's
platform. Fucking
nothing
do it.
better for the writer than
It's our best breakdown.
than-
Really?
that by far.
So
enormously.
I
Our
didn't
best
know
residual.
that.
Our best residual formula comes
I'm on the
from
board of the guild and I don't know that.
our best residual breakdown. It was DVDs and then video on demand, like that kind of.
Got it.
I mean,
So-
that's too inside Guild baseball, but there's horrifying stories about the difference between the theatrical contract residuals when it goes to video on demand versus the streaming contract residuals when it just stays on streaming.
Yeah.
The
it's
difference
much
is
better. So if you want to support
What the
a
hell are
movie,
you doing over there? If you
hit
don't
that
know this?
rental version.
Hit that rent. Hit that rent.
Hit
Yeah.
the $3 Apple
Yeah.
Pay. Do it.
Yeah, a couple times. Do it
thank-
for every room.
Thank you so much for being on, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
My God, thank you once again to Dan and Doug for coming on the show. Go see Naked Gun in the theater. Support comedy. If you want to support live stand-up comedy, head to adamconover.net for all my tickets and tour dates. Coming up soon, again, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Brea, California, Los Angeles, California, at the Lodge Room. Hope to see you there. It's going to be a big show. We're doing Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York City, Tacoma, Washington, Spokane, Washington, bunch of other great cities as well. Head to adamconover.net for all my tickets and tour dates. Again, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/Adam Conover. $5 a month gets you every episode of the show ad-free. For $15 a month, I'll read your name in the credits. This week, I want to thank Nick Wagner, Jake, Callan, Hey Look a Distraction, Uber Elder, Avaro Eggburger, Tracy, Joseph Mode, Greg 0692, Marcella Johnson, Matthew Bertelson, aka The Bunkmeister, and Kelly Nowak. If you'd like me to read your name or silly username at the end of the show, once again, patreon.com/Adam Conover is the URL. Of course, I want to thank my producers, Sam Roudman and Tony Wilson, everybody here at HeadGum for making this show possible. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to see you next time on Factually.
That was a HeadGum podcast.